Hi, I think this might be take 50, and every time I do a new take, I get up and I have a drink of gin. So the further the further I go with this and the more takes I need to take, the more gin I'm drinking. So if I continue to have more outtakes, I may be completely sloshed by the time you see this. My name is Annie, also known as Knitting Annie on Instagram, where you'll find me most often. I have my own website. It's called knittingannie.com. And this is my first podcast in hopefully many if I don't become an alcoholic. Today is Sunday. It's December 28th. It's my sister Julie's birthday. So happy birthday, Julie, if you're watching this. I'm kind of hoping that you're not. Because if I knew people in the real world were watching this, it might make me a little bit more nervous. I don't know how many people that I know face to face would be understanding of me doing a knitting podcast. But whatever. I enjoy knitting. I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy watching podcasts. So this is why I've started one of my own. I also have a contest going on Instagram, which I'll talk about a little bit later, where I'll show some of the prizes that I have with me today. I just wanted to start out by saying hi to Danny, who is Little Bobbins, who I watch regularly. She's got an awesome podcast. She's really great to listen to. She's very calming. She makes me very happy when I watch her, and I like to knit along while I watch her. I'm also a big fan of Cara from Knit All the Things, yeah, podcast. Cara is really funny, and she has some really great projects that she shares. So if you guys aren't watching them, I hope that you check them out. They're really great to watch. I don't think I want to make this too lengthy because this is hard enough as it is. For those of you who've never done this or talked on camera like this, I kind of encourage you to try it because it's something that you can't really imagine until you start doing it. So I have this odd, bizarre setup right now. We are in my living room. I'm on a very creaky chair. I have my iPhone attached to the thingy that holds it in the car, on the car windshield, and it's propped up on a mirror that's leaning against a box. I can tell you that this is as high-tech as I probably am going to get. I was reading online before doing this, trying to be prepared, that people have external microphones and they have special setups with DSLR cameras. We aren't going to get that fancy just yet. Where should I start? I'll start by introducing the dog. This is Watson. Come here. I don't know if you can see him. Come over here. That's kind of a little appearance. Watson is a miniature schnauzer. He is a very good guard dog, and I'm sitting by the window. Oh, and we're gonna see a little bit of Ruby. Hi, Roo. We adopted Ruby like, I don't know, 5 months ago, and when we got her, she had very short hair, and as you can see, Ruby is not a short-haired dog. Ruby came from a kill shelter in the South, but that has nothing to do with knitting. Although you could probably make yarn from her fur. So, thank you for making your introductions. Okay, go back to sleep. Go back and take a nap. That might not work. I will begin knitting things by talking about the giveaway that I'm doing on Instagram. So it's hashtag Knitting Annie Photo Challenge, and I made a list of things to take a picture of for every day of the month of December, and we've got a lot of participation. It's really quite amazing to see, and I'm really happy to see all the people who have taken time out to take these pictures. And thank you so much for participating. Rigel Lewis from Black Market Wool is donating a skein of her yarn. Do you guys say skein or skein? I think it's different in different regions. When I learned how to knit, my husband's mom actually taught me when I was young. I was like 15. And she says skein, but for me, when I read it, it looks like skein. I don't know. I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Anyway, Rigel Lewis from Black Market Wool, and you guys should check her out, is donating a skein of her yarn. It's a new colorway for her that's come out in the new year. It's really pretty, and thank you so much, Rigel, for donating that. I'm also going to be donating a couple other things. Well, not donating. sending to the prize winners. A couple other things. And to go along with Rigel's skein of yarn is this one that I've spun. This is Romney. For a lot of people who don't spin, when I talk about the breeds of sheep that I spin, they get kind of confused, like, oh, I thought it was wool. Well, yeah, but with sheep, there are different breeds of sheep, kind of like there are different breeds of dogs. So Romney is a type of sheep. And some of it can be very soft, and some of it is better suited for outerwear. I'd probably say that this is better suited for a hat or something like that that's not necessarily right up against your skin. Personally, I don't mind scratchy wools up against my skin. If it's something really scratchy for some reason, I can tolerate it. There's something kind of like romantic to me about knowing that it's wool. I really love wool, if you can't tell. This was dyed by a indie dyer. Her name is Expertly Dyed. She's a really great gal. And she did this gradient. It was on roving. So then I spun it, and then Navajo applied it so that the gradient stayed consistent through the yarn. So it goes from like a steely gray color to like a plum color and then a red. So that will be part of what goes along with Rigel's hand-dyed skein of yarn, which I believe is mostly merino, but you can double check. I'm gonna make some notes on my website so that you can see a link to the picture of, you know, what the yarn is. I also decided to have a second winner. So I got a couple more things together. I have this really pretty yarn from Cascade Yarns. It's Heritage Silk Paints. It's got a lot of browns in it, browns and like a golden color and a cream color, and then this really pretty cobalt blue that kind of goes into like a more turquoisey blue. So that is something else for the other winner. And then another yarn that I spun myself, and I processed this from raw wool. This is mostly Romney. I really like Romney, and I really like BFL and some of the longer breeds of wool, but I don't know if you can see the sparkles in there really well. It's a blue with gray and a natural black, and then there's some rainbow Angelina sparkles in there. Oh, you can kind of see it. This will be for the second winner. For the third winner, I will figure out who spins their own yarn, and I will provide some spinning fiber that I'll make for you so that you can spin that yourself at home. Also, each one of the winners is going to get, and I'm sorry that it sounds so crinkly, handmade stitch markers that I made. So here is one set. It's like little sparkly baubles that dangle from a ring. They're snagless stitch markers, so you don't have to worry about catching them on anything. And this one is for 5.5mm needles or smaller, which is a US 9. Then there's this one. That one's like butterflies and a little blue doodad that's hanging. I think they're all pretty much for same size needles. And then the last one, which I think are really pretty, they're on a bronze colored ring, and they are little flowers. Once upon a time I had my own Etsy shop, and I don't have one anymore, but I did used to sell stitch markers and yarn that I made and things like that. But I don't have too much time for that now, so I do have some leftover little goodies that I hope to give away. Giving away things is part of why I wanted to make my own blog. I really like getting things, don't get me wrong, I like gifts, but I really, really, really enjoy giving things away. So hopefully, as my blog develops, it's super new. This podcast is going to be the first post. I will have giveaways every week. I really want to involve a lot of different indie dyers, and I want to make some of my own stuff just because I really enjoy doing it, and give it away. So hopefully I'll have enough of a following to make it fun for me or worthwhile. Right now I'm not really expecting too many people to be tuning in, maybe 3, maybe my mom, and maybe a couple other people who are searching for fiber on YouTube and were sorely surprised to find out that I'm not talking about digestive things. All right, so moving on, I'm going to talk about works in progress. I am, I think, a serial cast-oner. I know there's a lot of people probably like me out there. I want to cast on a new project every day. I get kind of bored doing the same thing. So I have like 10, 15 works in progress going on at the same time. So I have a lot more than you're seeing right now, but I'm just going to show you two. So the first one I'm going to show you was inspired by Danny from Little Bobbins. She was doing a mid-along in December, and I didn't get a chance to finish mine. I work a lot during the month of December, so I haven't really been doing a lot of knitting. But I decided to try and make thrummed mittens. This is my first time making them, and they are so cool. The pattern that I'm using was not very good, so I've essentially changed it so much that it's really no longer the original pattern. So I would tell you who it was, but I don't really want to say anything negative, and I'm not really following it anyway. So this is kind of my own adaptation of that pattern, and you can see all of the little fluffy thrums in there. And there are a few different ways I've learned that you can add thrums into something. Sometimes it makes this pretty little V, and if you follow along Danny, Little Bobbins on her Instagram, she's making a pair right now too. And hers, you can see the little V. The way I'm making mine, it's not so much a V as it is like a little knob. Obviously I'm doing this in a magic loop, which is way awesome. It's so nice to not have to worry about using double pointed needles with this. I am using a very inexpensive yarn that I got from a big box chain store when it was on sale. So each one of these was $3. It's wool. It's called Full of Sheep, and it's by Red Heart. I don't really buy a lot by Red Heart because I'm not really a big fan of acrylic yarns. But this being 100% wool called to me, and it was super cheap, so I got that, and I have two of these, and you see one of my little thrums hanging on there. And the roving is from a really great indie dyer called Three Waters Farm, and I'll link to all of that in my blog notes later, but I'm going to turn this inside out so you can see what the inside of a thrum mitten looks like. Isn't that so cool? It's super cushy, super fluffy, and they're going to be super warm once I'm finished with them. Hopefully I finish them before it gets warm outside. Although I'm in Connecticut, and I have to say it's not been the coldest winter. It's very warm out right now. It's kind of in the 50s. If you haven't made thrum mittens, I would encourage doing them. They're a lot easier than they look. Making the thrums is really easy too. This is one of the thrums. In the way I make it, I get some of this roving, and I kind of pull it into strips, like this. I make it, you know, fairly thin. This is a little bit long, but I'll show you on this just so you can see it better. So I get a strip of it, and I fold it in on one side, and in on the other side. So you have this cute little figure eight, and then you roll it in the middle. You kind of just pinch in the middle those fibers down, and you roll them together, and it makes it a little bit more sturdy, and that gets knit into your work. So that's one of my whips. Woo, I'm warm. I think it's because of the gin. The other thing I'm working on is for a friend. She gave me yarn from Loopy Mango. And I'm sure some of you have seen this around. There was quite a stir on Instagram with Loopy Mango all of a sudden. It's funny how things like that happen. All of a sudden, like one thing pops up on Instagram and everybody gets it or everybody wants to do it. But I guess that's the way it is with anything, right? I am making a throw from Loopy Mango yarn, and it is pretty big. The yarn itself, if you look at it next to my finger, is almost as thick as my finger is. It's knit on size 50 needles, and this came as a kit, I think, from Loopy Mango. But like I said, I'm making this for a friend of mine, and I'm going to give it back to her. She gave me the yarn to knit this, and this is the throw. And I think once I'm done with it, and it's off the needles and it can really spread out, it's going to be a lot more open. but it's so great. It's made of merino. The inner core on this, sometimes people ask me if it's rug yarn, and I think it might be made with the same kind of process, but it's not really the same as rug yarn. It has almost an extra coating of roving over the top of it, and the core of this is merino still. It's merino through and through. But it's so comfortable and smushy and really awesome. And these needles are just insane. I had to put it down for quite a while because knitting it was hurting my hands. Sometimes it's hard to grab onto these, and I knit continental. So when I was putting it in there and trying to loop it around, I don't know, it was kind of uncomfortable. So I'll be happy when this is done. I can give it back to her. I'm halfway there. I'm gonna look at my notes and see if I missed anything. No, but I'm almost there. I think that once I'm done, maybe I'll have one more drink of gin and call it a day because, I don't know, Brad's gonna come home, my husband, and he is gonna say, what the heck happened to you? I left, you were making this great podcast, I know you were nervous, and now you're toasted. Let's move on to finished objects. I have one to show you, and this is something that I finished, I'm going to say at the end of November. This is a very long, what they're calling a shawl. This is called the Bedford Springs shawl with cobweb frill. There's two different versions of it. It's by Kathy Zimmerman, and she did this for Kramer Yarns. And I got this great yarn. It's a mohair, a brushed mohair, from my local yarn store, and it came with that pattern. So I said, great, I'll do it. I did not think it was going to take me this long to make. It took me, God, I don't know, like 5 weeks of knitting, I want to say. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, so you can find it on there. It's basically made with knit and purl, which here I call a seed stitch, but I think in different parts of the world you might call this a moss stitch. The yarn is sparkly. I don't know if you can see that really well. And the bottom of it has this section, and that's where you start when you cast on, with a bunch of drop stitches. So the cast on was tremendous. It was like 300 and something odd stitches. So it kind of took a while just to do the cast on. But once I got going, it was fun. And then after you knit up this section, you have to drop stitches, which is kind of fun to do, to intentionally drop something to make it run. I've done another pattern that had that kind of a thing to drop a stitch, but I did that last one with a merino that was a smooth wool. Doing this with a brushed mohair was very, very, very difficult because it didn't just run when I pulled it. I had to go in stitch by stitch by stitch and have the stitch drop, which was very tedious and was hard on my hands. But I would totally do it all over again. I am so happy with the finished product. It's really long, and for me to wear it as like a shawl around my shoulders, I don't know that it's as flattering on me. I have worn this to work with a nice top, and then I kind of like tie it around a little bit and make it like messy looking. And then I've also worn it kind of like how I wear most of my shawls, where I crisscross it around the front. And just do this. When I'm wearing this, when it's really cold outside, I like to get it and drape it around my shoulders a little bit, maybe bunch it up and put it under my jacket, and I cannot tell you how warm it is. So this is a really, really great project. I would encourage anybody to do it, and I really love this yarn, and I would love to make another one of these, maybe in like a silver color or black color. I really like sparkles in all manner. I like it in my yarn, I like it in my clothes, and I like sparkly jewelry. The last topic that I wanted to talk about is New Year's resolutions. And I don't know how many of you guys believe in resolutions, do them or don't do them. Excuse me. This is my obligatory beverage for podcasting. I think that everybody does this, and I don't know if it's on purpose or because your mouth gets dry and you need to use it. Who knows? For me, I felt like I needed to have something to drink just because everyone else does. No, this is not gin. This is tea. And I'm kind of curious to see how you guys pronounce this word, because I buy this tea a lot and I can't say that. So if you know how to say that, if you would do that in a little video maybe on Instagram and tag me so I can see you say it, that would be great. This is my favorite type of tea. It doesn't necessarily matter the brand, but I drink it constantly. I don't like to have caffeine, and this is caffeine free, so that's great. Anyway, wow, this chair is really squeaky. So what was I talking about? Fiber resolutions. Do you make any kind of New Year's resolutions? For me, I'm making resolutions kind of across the board. I've never been a big resolution maker. I've never really believed in them. But this year, I'm gonna do it. My fiber resolutions will include trying to whittle down my massive stash. And hopefully you guys will help me do that because I can give some things away. I really want to do more spinning. I want to do more knitting projects. So I'm gonna try and make some sort of an organized list of that so that I can attack things in small bites and accomplish all of that. Oh, excuse me. We have a second bedroom and it's not used for sleeping and there's no bed in there. It's like fiber from floor to ceiling and I have it in every manner of preparation. I have a lot of yarn that's finished and I have a lot of raw wool from everywhere across the country, actually across the world, that I've been collecting for a really long time that I really need to start going through. I have 4 spinning wheels. I have a drum carder, I have a picker, I have combs, I have pretty much everything I need to do except, you know, time. So I need to make time to do that. And then in my personal life, I want to get a little bit healthier. I learned in 2014 that I was gluten sensitive, and I know I have a lot of fiber friends who are in that same boat. So my goal for 2014 is to really monitor what I'm eating so that I don't have the bad reactions I was having before to eating gluten, and going from there. So if you guys are also gluten sensitive, or if anybody wants to talk about gluten-free recipes or anything like that, I would love to talk to you guys. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that you don't mind my rambling. I hope that I wasn't too tipsy to, to do this podcast properly. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again the next time I do this next week. Bye.